What is going on, everybody? It is Wednesday, which means the new summit is now live on the Crew 2, and for this week we have the Forever Ferrari, which I think this summit's going to be a lot of fun. It's basically street race focus and hypercar mixed in with some touring car races. I think this one will be a good time. Before we jump into that, let's take a look at the items in the up-and-coming summits right now. So obviously in this one in Platinum, we have the red Storm X tire, which for a tire, I think we can all agree that does look pretty cool. Then in gold, we have the Ferrari F40 LM, which I'm not going to lie, I have not driven this car that much, but I will have to do a little bit more testing on it. But if you guys already own this vehicle, you'll get the money back for that. And then obviously in silver, we have the legendary half set in the touring car class there, which, kind of makes sense considering the touring car races. But I would say just by looking at this Nitro Chemist set that those perks are probably not going to be very useful, to be honest, but at least we can actually change them and get the perks we are looking for. Then moving over to the next summit, Fabulous Las Vegas will give us the Fame Magnet boosted in the Alpha GP class. Now I actually already have one of these, and I would say it's really good for actually grinding out these races and having some fun and or mixing it up. Besides always doing the hyper races, at least we can do a different class and actually have the Fame Magnet on there. Then in gold, we have the multicolor Nitro, which actually looks pretty awesome. And then taking a look at next week's summit, we will have a nice mix of hypercar with some Alpha GP, then a random street race in there, so I think this will be a pretty fun summit to do. Then moving over to Night Shift 2, I am insanely excited for this one, guys. The Nissan 300ZX looks amazing. I am definitely really excited to drive this Nissan, and I would say similar to the other summits, we could probably test this thing out in there in one of the races, even though the car will not be leveled, so it probably won't be very fast. But in gold, we have the blinking blue underglow, which looks kind of cool, and then in silver, we have the legendary half set boosted in the drift class, which hopefully this will actually be a decent set. Funnily enough, the Nitro Chemist set on the drift class is actually a lot better than the score breaker, because the score breaker does absolutely nothing to your score in the actual event, which is kind of unfortunate. But moving over, we have the Community Summit with the 4th anniversary tire, which does look pretty cool. Then in gold, the Mercedes-Benz SLS, which I would say basically everybody already owns this vehicle. Then in silver, we have the Nitro Chemist boosted for the hypercar class, which this is probably going to be one of the most important sets ever, because the hypercars are used probably more than anything else in most of the summits. So now moving over to the Forever Ferrari Summit, starting off with the Speedtrap here. So for this one, I obviously ran the Corvette Stingray, and well, it is San Francisco, so I did drive a little bit out of the way there, which is probably the best way to do this Speedtrap, mainly because if you guys try to do the one going down the hill in the drag car, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare because the drag cars do not like jumping at all. And then moving over to this week's Escape, now I would actually say this one isn't as hard as some of the other ones we have seen. Now I did run the Chevrolet Stingray drag car again because this thing is amazing. And now moving over to the Escape, now I actually ended up running a drag car again. Now you could probably use a hypercar on this one if you really wanted to, because either one would actually work. The biggest thing on this Escape is basically getting to the highway and dodging all the crazy cars that randomly spawn in front of you, and especially in a drag car, this could be a bit of a problem. Then moving over to the Slalom, I ended up running the Ducati Panigale R because for some weird reason, I've been using all the touring bikes on pretty much every slalom that's come out recently. I really don't know why, but for some reason, I think these bikes are really fun to use on these, even though the Rally Raid vehicle will probably be a lot better because of that crazy set that is on there. But moving over to the hypercar race, now these are pretty straightforward, to be honest. I did run the 812 Superfast, well, because you kind of have to, but the 812 was actually a pretty impressive vehicle, and I'm kind of surprised how good this car actually is. Now, I do want to mention, by the way, guys, that one cut in this race where you could pretty much cut around the other side and then hit the checkpoint and then respawn, they added more checkpoints in, so you really cannot do this now, which I think is a good thing. I think some of the cuts on these races are a little ridiculous. Then moving over to the no restriction street race, I ended up running the Infiniti Q60. For some weird reason, I've really been enjoying this car a lot, and it's actually been surprising me how good this vehicle actually is. I highly recommend giving the Infiniti a try if you guys have not already. Now, the one downfall to this vehicle is the fact that it is kind of slow overall with its speed, but luckily the handling is insanely good on it. And then the other street race would be the F12, which I honestly do not use this car all that often, but it also seems like a pretty decent vehicle. This would be the San Francisco Commute. A lot of turns in this one, and this race could be kind of annoying to do, but I do think the Ferrari did a really good job on this one. Then moving over here, we'll have a no restriction touring car race, which for me, I ran the Koenigsegg CCGT, which I'm not going to lie is probably not going to be better than the Renault, but this car is still a lot of fun to use, and I just like mixing it up and using cars you really don't see too often, and this car still did a really good job with its handling and overall speed on this race. And then moving over to the other touring car race will be with the 599 Evo, which this will be the circle track there in New Jersey. This race is honestly pretty straightforward, but the biggest thing is watching out for the AI because you guys will end up passing them a couple of times. So moving over to the final race here in the summit, it's going to be the hypercar mixed with an Alpha GP race. So for me, I ended up running the Lamborghini Egoista, which to my surprise, this car is still insanely amazing. I plan on doing an updated video on this vehicle here soon. It's definitely kind of crazy because even after all this time, the Egoista still seems like a really good hypercar to use, and it's probably still a better option than many of the other ones in the game as well. But anyway, guys, if you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. Let's jump right into this summit.